Welcome back to Tamiya Legends, and once again thanks for stopping by. So in this short video we're going to talk about Tamiya's hottest vintage motor, which is the DYNATECH 02H. But before I start, in my opinion these are the three most iconic vintage motors of the day. There are others, but I don't know, for me and maybe collectability, these are the main three. So obviously we start with the Technigold, probably the most iconic Tamiya motor ever. It's a 21 turn single and it knocked out 19,000 RPM, which back in the day was big, and it was it's a modified motor, so it had adjustable timing. Quite a unique setup with the brushes and how it goes together. This casing was also shared with the Tamiya Techni-tuned and Techni-power, but they were much higher windings, much slower motors. So if you're interested in Technigold, have a look on my channel. There's a how to adjust the timing and rebuild it, and there's also a video on the running of it. Then came along the DYNATECH 01R. This is a 19 turn single, and this was rated at 22,000 RPM. This looks more like what you would sort of envisage as a standard sort of brush motor, although the brush and the spring system is very different to the stuff that followed later. Again, this is adjustable, double timing, modified. I can't really see it in this line. You see the degree lines there. Again, if you're interested in this motor, this has been in a car and I've tested it. I wasn't that impressed. I was super impressed with the Technigold, but when we went down from a 21 turn to a 19, and both were turned up full on the timings, I wasn't that impressed. But anyway, this video is about Tamiya's hottest vintage motor, which is, as I said, the DYNATECH 02H. So before we get started, let's have a look at the spec. So this is a 13 turn double, modified with obviously adjustable timing. So what we're going to do with this motor, I'm going to show you how to take it apart. It's quite a unique design, and that's why I want to do this little video. This is different from any other motor out there that I know of. So I want to show you how you take it apart to clean it, and then we'll build it back up quickly, and then I'm going to show you what the timing does and how it works. So let's get cracking. So the first thing you can see is these brush springs. Now they have three bits of plastic. So this one here, this is your adjuster for your tension. This is on its lowest setting at the moment. What you do, you push it, lift it up, and then push again to the next setting, and it just clips in there. And it has got a third setting, but I won't use that, which is right in there if you can see it. So the first thing we do is, sorry, I'll put that down, we whip these springs out, that opens up and it just comes off like that. Same with this one, up and over, and then the spring comes out. So that's the springs off. You don't need a tool for this one, for the brushes. It's got access with your fingers just to open the brushes up separately. I don't know if you can see that. So it's quite easy to do. Right, the first thing we do, because this, as I said, this is built completely different. It's a completely different design. This timing adjuster here, obviously I'm going to go into the timing afterwards when I build it back up, but this nut comes off, and if you just give it a little shake, in fact, it has this, which would just pop out. And it's got this little cog here. So the timing is adjusted on this plate here, which turns like that. But it's on a little ratchet system, which is quite clever with this nut. I hope you can see that, and he's got teeth around it. But for now, as I say, we'll just put the bits over here. Right, so that's this bit loose. Now here's a bit you've got to do very gently, because these brushes are very hard to get to, to buy again. So you just open the brushes out with your finger and thumb, and then just slide it up and over very gently, not hitting the plastic on the way over. And that's that. So that's how that goes together. I'm hoping this is coming across on camera. It's got this little copper plate here, which is extremely important, and I'll show you how this works afterwards. So I'll have a quick clean of those brushes later, but that's that section. So this is what we're left with. So the motor is still built, and it's solid. It's only that section that's come off. You've also got a second copper plate. Very important when you take this apart that you don't damage it or loosen anything. So put your little screwdriver in. Let's slacken that off. There's two screws to slacken off, and then just finger and thumb holding the end belt and loosen the screw out, and the screw just lifts out, and that copper plate, make sure you just take it off so you don't lose it, because it's game over if you damage that, and as I say, I'll explain why later. And then we take the second one off, and that comes out like that, and now your motor is loose. Now obviously you've got to be very careful you don't damage your com or your rotor. These plates well actually you'll see better when it's going together, so if you just prise that off very gently, put your finger on the rotor and just push the end cap off. Now you can see, and obviously this is a modified motor, so it's fully ball raced. Got this locating pin underneath. It's also got this white marking on this marker, which I believe denotes the way the can goes. So that's that section. Now, holding the can, obviously this has got some pretty serious powerful magnets. If you just push that through, the end belt flies off, and then grab the rotor, not making sure you don't damage the magnets. Again, the end bell, ball rest at the end, and that's that section. So we have that with your powerful magnets in there. I think it's very important when you're doing this to make sure that you do it all in the right order. And there we have the 10-turn rotor. So all I'm going to do very quickly, I'm just going to give it a very quick clean up, clean the com, just clean these little com ridges out, and then we'll clean the case and the end bells, and then you see that two little washers came off there. Very important that we don't lose things like that, and when it goes back together. Right, so I'll leave them off for now, so we don't lose. So let's just give it a quick clean. Right, so we've got the com cleaned up best we can. Unfortunately, I haven't got all the gear here because I'm in Canada, but I've cleaned it up, got all the sort of dust and residue and carbon. Cleaned the inside of this. This is lovely and clean now, and I did what I could just on the brushes to clean those up. So the rebuilding process, extremely important that you put these washers back on in the right place and in the right order. They're there for a reason. And then there's two that goes on this rotor. Now I've also got the Tamiya hop-up extra rotor for this 02H, which is actually, because this is a 13-turn double, and we've got the 10-turn, which will be changing over in the next week. So I'm going to do a running video of the standard 02H, and then we'll stick the 10-turn hotter rotor in. This particular motor with this wind knocks out 25,500 RPM, which is pretty high for the age of it. Bearing in mind this motor's from 1988, I believe. So there's a fair bit of power in it. The 10-turn rotor takes it up to, it depends where you look, but on the back of the rotor packet, it's sort of up at around about 32,000 RPM, which is a hell of a jump, and you're getting into some serious RPM. So washers are back on the rotor. What I do if you remember, I said it's got this white paint here, so this is the end of the motor. And oh, see, this is what we've got to be careful of, these little washers. So push that back on with the white paint there, and then just do it nice and gently so that we're not scratching the rotor or the magnets, and it'll find its own place. Now, as I said, this all goes together, and it only goes together one way. So on this end belt, you've got this like pin here, and you've got a hole in that can. I hope you can see that. So you have to line that up. So first of all, put your rotor through your bearing, and then line the end bell up. It's quite difficult to see actually. There it is. And when it's in position, if you can see that, you just push gently. Make sure. Sorry, I've not got that lined up. It's gone to the side. There we go. And then that goes on, and just check all the way around. Make sure it's all level. So that's that bit done. This bit is exactly the same. Making sure those two washers are on. Find where your hole is, which is here. On your end belt, find where the pin is, and then again put it through the bearing gently, and then line that hole up, and then you can just kind of hear it clipping, which is awesome. It's very nice and easy motor to work on. So we've got that's together, and then obviously you can spin your rotor, and it's oops, and then your rotor's lovely and free. So now we've got to put the two screws back in. Now, if you can see here, this has got this cutout here, whereas this has got a completely different shape for that copper plate. So just put your bog standard one in first that doesn't have anything else. Feed it through gently, keeping it upright, put your little screwdriver on there. It's a little bit fiddly, but that's located instantly. When it tightens, just take it back, about a full turn. Now, here's a very important bit, because this affects your whole motor timing. This copper plate here, it only fits one way. So leave the motor up like that, just slide it across onto the plastic, and I hit that first time. That sits flush like that. And then your screw drops through. Keep your motor upright again, and just turn slowly until you find it locate, which it has. And then, as you can see, the screws come through. Well, they don't come through, but you can see where they're located. And then these 4 holes are your motor mounting holes. So we're going to nip that up. This is what I like about this motor. This is why it's really different. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use a slightly bigger screwdriver and nip it up a little bit tighter. Literally less than a quarter of a turn, a lot less. But we don't want this thing coming apart under load. Right, so that's the can built back up. Very simple. Then we have this timing plate. So what we're going to do, again, with this arm here, which is for your timing, face that away from you, and then hold this unit, open those brushes wide, sit it over that screw, and then over, and don't release the brushes until it's down, and that's that in position. Now, I hope you can see this on camera. In this section here, this plastic, it's got there's teeth, there's gears for what I was showing you earlier, which is this, which is on this, has gears as well. So if I just pop that over the arm, and then that goes into position, the idea is, you see the screw turning when this nut above turns when you adjust the timing slowly. So before it pops off again, we make sure the washer goes on, and then this nut like that, and we'll just screw it all down, and then we'll slacken it off about half a turn. So that's in position now, and it's letting us move our time. And as you can see, when I twist this, that nut above moves. So I'm pretty well. I think the idea was obviously that you can get a little, slacken that off, get a little Tamiya spanner, and just move it, and then you can control your degrees on your timing section. It's I don't know if you can see this. It has the first degrees are in black, and then you have a red line for its maximum efficiency, and then the line's going to red at that side. Excuse me. So for anyone who doesn't know why a modified motor has adjustable timing, it's not just to make the motor go as fast as it can. The motor is set up at an optimum position. What that means is you get maximum RPM and you get maximum battery time in this position. Now, for someone who's just bashing these around outside your house, you just leave it as it is. The whole purpose of timing was to tune your motor for a race, basically. So just for argument's sake, this 02H, if it's on its most efficient setting from the factory, then let's just say you're not using a 7.2 2000 amp NIM, then a standard running time outside, you might get, I don't know, 6-7 minutes. Now obviously the excuse me, the race meetings back in the day were generally 4 minutes long. So what it allowed you to do was sacrifice your run time and gain more RPM. So you could basically tune this motor so you'd get just over 4 minutes out of it, but you would have completely, you'd be boosting your RPM to get more power. I'm not 100% sure if it affects the torque on the motor when you up it, but it certainly gives you more RPM. Right, which I'm going to show you that next. So I'll just nip that up very gently. Right, we'll put these brushes back into place. Very easy to do this. Now, if you can see on the inside of that brush, on the outside of the brush, it has a ridge line. So the brush goes over and it automatically goes into that position and hits the brush. And then we just clip it over. Exactly the same with this side. That goes in the position. Boom. And that's your motor built back up. Simple as that. But as I said, I want to show you the timing and what it does. So I've got a 7.2 battery, I've got a 3-step speedo. This is the most non-scientific way of doing this. You actually are supposed to do this on a dynameter, which obviously is the correct way of doing it, but unfortunately I don't have one. So we just connect everything up. Before you put power, make sure your speedo's in 0 position, otherwise your motor's going to throw a tantrum and it's going to wrap all the wires up, and these things are just too rare and too expensive to make a mistake like that. Right, so that's in the off position. So I'm going to slacken that timing gauge off again. And then before we put power through it, I just want to make sure that, what I'm also going to do, I'm going to move the brush springs into the middle position to put more pressure on the com. You can feel that actually when you turn it, the difference that makes. And let's just make sure we are getting full movement, otherwise we'll just slacken that nut off slightly. So obviously the idea of this is where the copper plates were. So this makes the contact with the copper and turns it slightly around the magnets, which increases the RPM. Right, so that's moving quite free. Right, so I'll shut up and I'll just sort of rev it slowly, and you should hear the RPM increasing and decreasing. So here we go. Just right. Right, so you sort of, if you're going to play with your timing, you're kind of looking for that sweet noise spot. Now this is obviously the benefit of having a dyno, because the time, when I did, just nip that up so I don't forget, when I did the timing adjustment with the Technigold, I found that, obviously that's your line on your end bell and that's in your degrees, and it's set at full now. Even the slightest movement made a hell of a difference in RPM. If you took it right down to, I think we call it, the motor is in retarded, I believe the word is, which is a little bit odd. But that moves it back to what sort of negative degrees, and it made a hell of a difference in noise. And then when you wound it up to maximum, you could really hear the RPM build. I assumed all motors were like that, but when I did it on the 01R, a little bit like this 02H, the changes happens just in the last couple of degrees, and basically the further back you did it, it didn't do a lot. And as you'll have just heard there, it didn't make a massive difference. You definitely get a little bit more RPM towards the end, but the rest of the scale doesn't do a great deal. Anyway, that's probably where a dyno meter comes in, because you'll probably be able to see it much more on the screen than you can actually physically hear it with your ears. So that's the motor built back up. As I say, I'll just give it a little. Go in reverse. So I'll just disconnect the wires, making sure not to pull on the motor. These things are just too rare to make mistakes like that. Right, so that is it. It literally is as simple as that. So now we've got the R2, it's cleaned. What I'll do, I don't even know if this makes a difference, but I'm just going to slacken those brushes back off to the weakest settings. I don't see a point in it on its grippy settings when we're not using it just yet. Excuse me. So I hope you found that of interest, guys. The next step for this motor, it'll be going into the top force with my new setup of I've got some modern radio gear, and we've got a unlimited new brush speed controller, so we can power this and also put the 10-turn rotor in it and use it on the Tamiya Super Modified when that arrives. So once again, guys, I hope that was interesting. If you did find it interesting, please like and subscribe. And once again, thank you for watching.